Hello everybody, welcome to the classroom. I know this is a totally different location. I'll explain all of the locations in a future video, I suppose. But yeah, we are filming from the classroom and we're going to continue with episode 2 of Budget Tool Review. Today we're going to be talking, it's going to be a fast episode. We're going to be talking about budget chisels. Now, there's a very huge, very big argument for why you should buy budget chisels. If you look at woodworking videos online, people tend to have very nice fancy chisels, very shiny chisels, and there's like a whole host of like Japanese chisels and stuff like that. Those can be really, really expensive, but it's not just about the price. One of the big reasons why, especially if you're starting out as a woodworker, why you want to buy budget chisels is because you're gonna abuse them. You're gonna bash them around. You're gonna be very bad at sharpening them. You're gonna chip the edges. You're not gonna get them nice and flat. You're gonna end up with all sorts of cambers and all that kind of stuff. And it's way better if you do that on a cheap chisel and learn your way through a cheap chisel and then eventually kind of level up into a much more, beautiful or expensive chisel that you can work with. But generally, you'll want to purchase cheap chisels when you're starting out because they're cheap and you can sharpen them easily. The biggest difference from a budget chisel to like a really nice chisel is going to be the kind of steel that you get, which affects edge retention. So if you get a really fancy chisel, it might be a different kind of tool steel, which allows you to sharpen it to a way sharper point and let it stay sharp for a lot longer. A lot of these budget chisels, the steel is very soft. So what happens is it sharpens faster, but it also dulls faster. But that's good news for you because that allows you to practice your sharpening even more. So yeah, there is a big reason why you actually want to buy something cheap instead of starting out buying something really amazing already. And here's the good news, right? Most chisels that you see now, roughly about the same price range, are all the same. Usually you'll find chisels that come in a set like these. These are total chisels. We use them in our workshop. They'll come in a set like this, which is 6 mil, 12 mil, 19 mil, 25 mil, or it's based on the inch increments, right? It's quarter inch, half inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch chisel. These are the sizes that you're going to get regularly. And I will have to say almost all the brands that you find online that are selling these one set chisels are going to be pretty much the same. Like the total chisels, you'll find these orange version, the Inco chisels, which, even the shape is almost exactly the same. These green ones, the Thorson chisels, Work Pro chisels, they're all going to be pretty much exactly the same. So buy whatever, it really doesn't matter. If you've got a little bit more money to spend, a slight upgrade to really budget like Chinese made chisels are the IRWIN MARPLES chisels. These Chinese chisels will run you about like maybe $25 for a set. So 4 chisels for about $25-30. This guy over here is going to be like $30 for a chisel, which is not expensive yet. This would be still considered in the budget end. So pick up anything that you want. The other one that you'll find out, and links to these in the description by the way, the other one that you'll find a lot is going to be this guy here. And these are my own chisels, by the way. These are mine. I'm still using them 5 years down the line. And you might be wondering, KJ, why is there a suspicious houndstooth dovetail sitting on your workbench? Well, it's sitting there to remind you that this joint here, this beautiful houndstooth dovetail that I did a while back, is achieved with all the budget tools that I'm talking about. The budget saws, the budget chisels, it's all done with that kind of stuff. So you don't need high-end chisels to do high-end work. You don't need high-end like Japanese saws to do high-end work. That's just what that's there for. Anyway, you'll see these a lot. The big thing of why you might want to pick up these particular orange brandless chisels that I have, there are certain manufacturers that will sell you millimeter increment chisels. So if that matters to you, then you might not, you might want to stay away from the set and instead get chisels with a specific size in mind. However, because these guys are so cheap and they're like $5 a chisel or something like that, not very expensive, $5 to $6 a chisel, because they're so cheap, there is some discrepancy in the quality. The big problem that you get, most of these chisels, they will still be relatively flat. You do have to do a little bit of flattening with them, but they are relatively relatively flat. But the big problem with these guys in particular, when you're buying the sizes according to the millimeters, is that they're not perfect. So I bought a 6mm, an 8mm, a 12mm. I bought an 8mm, a 10mm, a 12mm, and a 16mm. And the 8mm chisel, this guy here, is actually 9mm. The 16mm chisel is actually 17mm, something like that. So you're not going to get absolutely precise sizing. So if you want precise sizes, buy the chisel sets. They're usually pretty okay in terms of size. If you want specific millimeter sizes, then you can go ahead and pick up some of these chisels. They're absolutely fine. I've been using them for a very long time now. And they can do work like that. So absolutely great. The last one that you'll come across on the budget range, these are our friendly local sellers from Johor. Again, you'll see these guys, SENTHOR hardware, you see them pop up a lot because they do sell a lot of like budget stuff and it's all pretty decent. You'll see chisels like this. I bought this as well because they're probably the only ones that will sell you like 6mm chisels as a single unit rather than as a set. So I picked up one. The big downside about this guy is that if you're just starting out, do remember that this is a wooden handled chisel. So if you bash this a little bit too hard with your hammer, you might end up damaging the handle. That's basically about it. But other than that, it's a perfectly fine chisel. It will do you absolutely fine. So yeah, if you're starting out woodworking and thinking, what chisel should I get? Just get anything. It really doesn't matter. The cheaper, the better. You'll figure out how to work them, right? Chisels are so forgiving. You can sharpen them how you want. You can flatten them how you want. So even if they, arrive at your house in absolute horrible quality, you can just do a little bit of sharpening and flattening and you can get them in working order. So yeah, pick up anything that you want. All chisels are almost exactly the same. Accompanying your chisels, however, you might also want to pick up a set of sharpening stones. So I'm going to straight off the bat recommend for beginners that you pick up diamonds. They're easy to get. They're easy to use. There's very little maintenance and there's very little mess. If you're using water stones, I tend to find that the maintenance of keeping a water stone station and keeping them submerged and all that kind of stuff and then flattening the stone, I do find that's a little bit of upkeep that I don't want to keep up with. So I tend to just go for diamonds. Now, people used to say that diamonds are expensive, but nowadays you can get diamond plates for absolutely dirt cheap. And some of them are like this. These are the honeycomb ones that you can get. I think they're roughly about like $10 a plate. You can also get some really just ordinary, flat diamond plates that you can buy. Again, it's about $8 to $10 a plate. Absolutely fine. I would usually recommend that you get like a 200 grit, a 400 grit, and 800 grit, or like a 200 grit, a 600 grit, and a 1000 grit, something like that. To kind of give you that final polish, what you want to go for if you're going with diamonds is that you should get yourself a little strip of leather or like a leather belt or something like that. Actually, even fake leather does the job sometimes, but fake leather just rips apart faster, so it doesn't last quite that long. So if you can just get a piece of like leather from whatever you can get your hands on, and all you need is just a little bit of this buffing compound. You can buy these from like Daiso or like certain DIY shops or whatever. They're again very cheap. All this will do is just put a little bit of automotive like buffing compound. This is the stuff that you use to polish metal, make it really, really shiny. You can just put a little bit into your leather and that will serve as your like 10,000 grit final polish to get your chisels absolutely nice. Alright, I'm not going to talk about sharpening. If you want to learn about sharpening, there's tons of videos online. But yeah, pick up a couple of these cheap diamond plates. Where you will lose out when you buy cheap diamond plates versus really good diamond plates is that the reason why they're cheap is because the process in which they make these plates is usually quite bad. So there's very little QC. What ends up happening is, especially on the larger grit stones, is like that's my 240 grit right there. What ends up happening is because I think the process that they use to attach the diamonds to the plate is like some electroplating, something like that. The process that they use to stick the diamonds onto the plate basically is not very good. And if you sharpen a little bit too hard or you use them for a lot, you'll find that the larger diamonds tend to break off the plate. So what happens is that the grit goes up really fast or it just becomes really, really smooth very quickly. So for example, my one over here, I don't know if you can tell, but basically the outside is still pretty nice and rough, but the center where I've been doing most of my sharpening, that's really nice and smooth already at this point. So there's almost like no diamonds left right at the front here. But because they're cheap, you can just, they'll last you. It's lasted me like 4 years and a bit, something like that. You can pick one up for like $10, replace it. It's really good. So I highly recommend that you pick some up, some of these diamond plates up. Links again in the description. All right, that's going to wrap up our very quick episode of budget tool review. Yeah, pick up some of these really cheap stuff. I can recommend them. I don't think there are any chisels that you want to stay away from necessarily. I think most of them are all pretty decent in the budget range. I also don't think there are any like sharpening stones on the budget end that you need to stay away from. So yeah, just pick up anything. They'll serve you fine, and you'll make stuff like that if you just practice enough. Next episode, we're going to talk about some budget hand planes, and that's where things are going to get a little bit dicey. So I'll see you in the next episode of Budget Tool Review.